Welcome to Real Estate Investing for Professional Men and Women, the podcast that guides professionals to financial prosperity. Join our community and let's start building your wealth. Here's your host, Gary Wilson.
Hi, everybody. This is Gary Wilson, and welcome to this week's podcast, Real Estate Investing for Professional Men and Women. Podcast for you, typically dentist, teacher, fireman, policeman, pilot, engineer. You like to invest, you just want to do it, get the right properties the right way, and we can help you leverage your businesses to get properties and vice versa. And by the way, if you haven't subscribed to the podcast, please do so. One in multiple channels, Stitcher, iTunes, iHeartRadio, feel free to subscribe. And if you want to be part of the community, remember, we've got an awesome online community, 1,000 strong, all of us investors. And again, typically we're business owners and we're usually professionals, but also we had all those investor agents we've trained over this last several years all over the US and Canada, even the Bahamas, by the way, to work with us investors. Okay. So go to My Investment Services, click on the members link, and you go into the silver level. If you're not already a member, go to the one on the right where you can learn all about it and you can test the waters. So do that. And then what we'll do is go ahead and move forward here today. We've got a great guest. Paul Ritter's been a friend of mine for a long, long time, but probably, I'm thinking now going back maybe 15 years or more. And we haven't aged a bit, Paul. So in any case, Paul, welcome aboard. I appreciate you taking your valuable time and sharing your expertise with everybody. It's a great subject. So Paul, go ahead. If you don't mind, some people probably know you because you're in all 50 of the U.S. 50 states. But for those who don't, maybe just kind of paint them a picture of who you are and what you're doing, and maybe we can help them out today,
Well, thank you. Thank you for that warm introduction. Let me kind of give you a little bit of background on who I am and where we came from, where this whole business came from. It's actually it's a quite interesting story, Gary. I probably could write a book about it. I would say that I'm a rare breed. That's what my wife tells me. But anyhow, I'm a true entrepreneur. I'll put it that way. When I say that term, when you're self-employed, I kind of differentiate between self-employed and a true entrepreneur. When you're self-employed, that means that you're into a business and great for having your own business, being self-employed. That's wonderful. I think everyone should be self-employed. But when you're self-employed, you have your own business, but you have kind of a guide to it. So if you're a McDonald's franchise, even if you're a real estate investor, someone's cut the waters. Someone's done something before you, and they taught you how to get to where you need to be. In my business, where I started with the credit repair, I was one of the pioneers in the world of credit repair and actually doing things over the internet. So there was no rules whenever I first started. There was no guide to it. And with our screening business and how we couple it with credit repair, we're the best game in town. And at this stage of the game, the only game in town that really puts those two services together to create what I call the ultimate lease option exit strategy for this business. So when we started, oh my God, Gary, there is so many problems with how those two fit together. How long is it going to be for someone to be mortgage ready? How do you put something like that into a document? What are the rights? What rights do you have to have built in there? What about your disclosure forms and so on? So it was quite a challenge, and it's we've been doing it for quite some time. So to couple these two services together, it's I consider myself a true entrepreneur, and that's spirit. I'm kind of a pioneer in that arena. My wife and I. One of the things about if you're going to be self-employed or an entrepreneur that I've learned over the years is have a mate or have somebody that's your right-hand person that's there to support you. I've went through a couple of times where I didn't have the supporting person by my side, and the people that I wanted or that were in my life were like, you should be working a 9-to-5 job. A real man, gets his fingers dirty and works alongside the road or something like that. But not anymore. Now I have my wife, Joanne, and she is the greatest support mechanism that anyone could ever have. And that's why I contribute a lot of the success of this business to having the right spirit of the person that you work with. So the soothsayers of doom, they're going to come around and try to wreck your mindset about having your own business. I'm here to tell you that when you find that right person that's going to be there to support you through thick and thin, and I'm here to tell you, there's a lot of thin times, uh, especially in the sales arena, in any business that you go through to ramp up a business,
Mhm.
especially from scratch. You got to have the right mental aptitude, attitude, and aptitude. You got
Yeah.
to have it all together, and you got to jump in both feet, and you got to basically say, this is what I'm going to be doing. And when the soothsayers of doom come around, you got to basically be able to put blinders on and bore ahead and do what you got to do to accomplish your tasks at hand, so you can ultimately reach your goals. So me, I had to learn that lesson the hard way,
Mhm.
but it's now come full circle, and we have a fully operational business that's been functioning since about 2005. And the Lord has blessed us with the business that we need to make certain that that all our needs are met, and that now we're into the stage of being able to help people in the community. People who couldn't buy a toaster on credit also now can get a house, and be able to go to a bank and get a loan and have dignity and have the
Yeah.
pride of ownership. So I've been blessed so many ways in having and doing what I've done to this point in time. So that's kind of a bit about my background.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it. Well, I'll tell you what, show people, the thing I like about this is actually, I know you personally, and, I want you to show people, Paul, exactly what you're doing. If you have a PowerPoint or something, you can take people there. I know it's a lot of it's audio because it's a podcast, but we'll put this up on YouTube too. So if you can walk through the process of what it is you're doing, because I think people are going to be really pleasantly surprised here. See, a lot of people think, well, if you got a credit problem, it's because you're either broke or don't have enough money. But I know doctors, surgeons who are literally making six figures on a monthly basis and still living month to month, and have credit
Absolutely,
issues.
yeah.
So see, this applies to everybody. So definitely pay attention, everybody. And Paul, if you got some good stuff to show us, it'll be on YouTube, but on the podcast, you'll get just this audio version here. So, yeah.
Okay, so Gary, I would encourage your audience to stay to the very end, because I'm going to have some really great tools
Cool.
that they're going to be able to get for free. One of the things I'm going to be able to give them is I'm going to be able to give them an application that they can call their own. Actually, it's a branded application, so
Hmm.
I don't want to skip to the end, but I do want to say that the branded application I'm going to give them it cost me about $1,000 to put it together. And
Hmm.
when you see what it can do for you, I mean, when we try to find buyers and we try to have them apply for our houses, we want to look, feel, and be credible to them.
Hmm.
And not only them, but the people that are giving us the house, whether we're getting the house on lease option, buying on rent to own, buying it on owner financing, or straight outright purchasing it. No matter what, whatever control mechanism we have on the house, we want to make certain that those people understand that we have a credible process in place.
Okay.
So what I'm going to give you here at the end of this whole thing, so please stay to the end, is a
Hmm.
great tool. You'll be able to have the application that this company uses in a branded linked manner. And I'll talk about what those terms mean in just a minute here. So
Okay.
as I mentioned on the onset, we have two companies, My Credit Team and Screen the Tenant or Pre-Qual Team. Now, the reason there's two different emblems here is because Screen the Tenant, we actually started out under Screen the Tenant, but we've been transitioning much to Pre-Qual Team because Screen the Tenant doesn't say real accurately what we do. What we actually doing is pre-qualifying people for a future purchase of a property. So screening the tenant implies that this is more of like a rental situation. We want them to understand it's more of an owner's situation. In other words, you're renting now, but you have a lease option to buy the house. So we're really pre-qualifying you. And the team part, like pre-qual team, comes from the My Credit team. So those are the two I'd kind of focus in on here. But it is important to understand that we did have, at one point in time, we were screening the tenant. I worked a lot with Ron LeGrand, and that was kind of his brainchild to give it that name. So I love Ron. I don't know if you love Ron or hate Ron, but he is kind of the grandfather of this industry. So, the papa of this industry, and he to this day refers a lot of business to us. So, if you hear this, Ron, thanks. Anyhow, cash out your tenant buyers with the best tools in the industry. Attendees will receive a customized online application, which includes how to effectively market attracting higher quality tenant buyers. Nothing's going to be sold here. So if you came to this thinking you're going to pull your checkbook out in the end and have to pay us some money, guess what? I hate to disappoint you. We're not here to sell you anything. I'm here simply to provide you tools so that you can do your job more effectively. Fair enough? Okay, so the why, what, and how of what I'm going to present here for you today. What do we do is all these things that are on the screen, verification of income. Again, working off the screen, because again, remembering that most people aren't going to be watching this. What we do is we verify people's income. So that's different than a normal screening company. All they do is like a TransUnion Smart Moves. The computer makes a decision, and the decision is either thumbs up or thumbs down based upon rental only. They're not thinking about ownership of properties. If you're thinking about ownership of properties, typically you go to a mortgage broker who turns your loan over to an underwriter, and in between those two, there's software that will help to pre-qualify to even if it gets to the underwriter's desk. So that's kind of the processes for rental and processes for ownership of house. So if you're going to do a rent to own, you have to have elements of both of those in there. With the ownership of the house, you have to verify how much money they make. So verification of income speaks of what I'll call the affordability report. So we're going to provide an affordability report to the person who brings us the lead. In other words, you, the real estate investor, are going to have people apply for your houses. We're going to give you affordability, credit report, credit analysis. But the credit analysis is basically how long is it going to be for them to be mortgage ready and what needs to happen in order for that to occur from a credit standpoint. Criminal background check and a Megan's Law report, which is a national sex offender report. If the people need credit repair, well, we have a credit enhancement company that's positioned to do that. And it's a credit enhancement company that is not, unlike any other. Credit repair is not a commodity item. You just can't use any credit repair company in this industry. The reason being, and I'll get into that in a little bit, but it's more so that you want to have an end date before they even start. How cool is that? Knowing how long it's going to be for them to be mortgage ready before they even start. No other credit repair company out there will do that for you. Major component.
Yep.
So for those of you that are watching this on the on YouTube, you'll see on the screen that's in front of you, it says member registration for a site. For those of you listening, I'm navigating to a site called Prequal Team. So it's spelled PREQUALTEAM.com. And when you get to that site, and you can do it on your phone or you can do it on your computer, there's down in the left quadrant, left bottom of the screen, it says membership registration. It's a free button. It kind of looks like a wheel, like a red wheel. If you click on that and then you answer some questions behind it, it's like 4 questions, then you're going to get what I had mentioned before, which is going to be that free customized branded application that you'll be able to send out by text or email to your tenant buyers. And we take care of all the process behind that to make certain the people are again, mortgage ready, and then provide you all the reports. And we'll get into the costs. Actually, there's no cost to you. All the costs that are associated with this application, as the people fill it out, are going to be borne by the tenant buyer. So they're going to pay the $50 when they apply for your house. We collect the money, and that's the money for us doing our background checks and so on. And essentially, we're going to provide you a report, a packet we call it, that has all the information in it. So that would be the place for you to get your free customized application. And we'll cover a little bit more of that in the end. But if for those of you that are looking at the screen, you'll see what that application looks like right now. I have it up on the screen right here, but it's basically a couple questions: your name, your email address, your phone number, and the name of your company. Now, I have 2 phone numbers and 2 email addresses. One is what you want people to see when they click on your application. In other words, your public-facing email address and your public-facing phone number, and then your private phone number, the one you want me to have, so that me and my office to have, so that we can call you directly. So that's why there's differences, and that's why there's actually 6 questions here.
Okay.
Okay. So You'll also receive a couple of videos whenever you do this. Really cool videos. Both of them are about 3 minutes, Gary. The first one is made for real estate investors and basically tells about the process, how and why and what behind this procedure, how, why, and what, and how it works. The second one is the one that the tenant buyer is going to see whenever he fills out the application. So he knows what needs to be done, and he starts to understand what role the credit repair plays in him cashing out. We always tell people that there's going to be two closing tables. The first one, Mr. Tenant Buyer, is when you get the keys and you move into the house. That's the rental period. The second one is when you're cashing out. Now, my assumption here, Gary, is that this particular tenant buyer is getting a loan at the end of the cycle. Some people that you work with, some of them actually, you don't cash them out because you're keeping them all the way through and you're doing what I call true owner financing. You might want them to go 10, 15 years. And that's okay. If that's the case, they don't necessarily need to have their credit cleaned up. But doing the screening with us, we are still going to at least offer them that because it makes their life easier. Then they can do other things like get cars, and get better jobs and so on. So, depending upon what the exit strategy is, either way, we're going to allow them to have a free consultation with a credit expert. So the videos that you see, that the buyer will see and that you will see, will basically teach you about the process. So the act of enrolling or registering yourself, the act of doing that, all the materials to teach you about it are going to be sent to you automatically.
Okay.
So I like to ask these questions. Like I go to a lot of seminars and summits and so on, and I'll ask people, do you think you're passing up on quality tenant buyers because you're not asking the correct questions in the right order? And they always give me the look like deer in the headlights, are kind of looking right through me. Like, what do you mean? What are the correct questions, and what order? What does it matter what order I ask these questions in? Well, if you present things in a disorderly function or disorderly manner, then you confuse the tenant buyer. But the way things are laid out on this application, it's very logical. Like when you have two people, for example, rather than one, the application expands. As soon as you click on I'm going to be applying for more than one person, then it asks you the appropriate questions for the co-borrower, and it doesn't ask you those if there is no co-borrower. So that's kind of one for instance. But all the other pertinent questions that you'll need to ask: date of birth, social security number, purchase price of the house, amount of down payment. It's all in there, and you don't have to remember all that stuff because we're always going to ask the right questions and in the right order. Do your applications lay dormant on your desk? Do you ever list a house and get 300 phone calls in a weekend because it's a hot house and you don't know which one? You pass up 299 people that probably would have been better than the guy you selected. So sometimes, so what method do you have to kind of quickly make certain that you're getting your true top 10 out of a bunch of applications? The method of having them apply and pay money for it, the application, weeds out a lot of people that are tire kickers to begin with. And then imagine after that getting the type of report that we've been talking about up to this point in time, complete with a debt to income ratio analysis, so you can see how much money they make, so much money they have at the end of the month, if they're living to the next paycheck, and basically being able to see everything in a much more transparent way. So, your marketing issue, do you have too many applicants? Do you have time constraint, too few applications? So when you're working with us, a lot of those, think of it as outsourcing your buying process to a company that is industry specific, that does nothing but this particular industry and services, all the needs that you're looking for. I'm not going to go into the screen right here that I have up here, Gary. It's basically was someone saying to me that she was person who was selling her the house, or at least offering it to her on lease option, was unsure about her process and wanted to know more about how you weed out people to make certain you get good candidates. so that the people that live in the house are not going to trash the house. So I offered her some documentation to help show her how our screening process works, and then also offered to have the person who owns the house call me directly, so I could go over with her on the phone, how this whole process works to make certain that she's going to get the appropriate candidate. So that alone got her control of the house. So the house is still pending sale right now, but she's going to get a nice big paycheck in the end. And I'm not sure she'd have gotten that house without that type of support. So that's a level of support that, my wife and I, we're also real estate investors. So we don't say
Mhm.
anything that's going to mess up your deal. We know kind of how these transactions work and how many different avenues you'd have just within the lease option exit strategy. Not even talking about the buying strategy or all the buying strategies that are out there. So,
Mhm.
we know basically how to make certain that the people that everyone has comfort. The people selling the house, the people the real estate investor, and also the people that are buying the house, because we can walk any end of that through hand in hand. Uh,
Okay.
Feedback to this point, Gary? Or should I just continue on here?
Yeah, no, this is good stuff. Absolutely, keep going, and I'm appreciating this. I'm sure everybody else is too. Yeah.
Hey Gary, do you ever get in your email something that looks like a really unfriendly link, like
Oh yeah.
www.io/glj something or other, and
Yeah.
what do you think, Gary, whenever you see a link like that? What do you think?
Well, actually, I never open them. you
that's
know.
that's a really good policy. Most
Yeah.
people think that's some sort of ripoff scam,
Hmm.
and that's what I call an unfriendly link. Now, what if that same link, all that really is, that link that I just mentioned, what that really is it's called a bit.ly link, and what it's
Hmm.
trying to do is it's using codes to shorten a really long link, and it might be authentic, but we don't know. We don't know if it's going to somewhere in China or some ripoff artist or whatever. We don't know. But if you received a link that said, for example, www.apply.prequalteam.com/Joe buys houses, that link, you can see how that link tells you what it does.
Yeah.
That link itself has credibility. And if I talk to a guy that worked with Joe buys houses, and then they sent me that link, could you see how I would know to trust that link, and I would be way more apt to go ahead and click on it and to apply?
Yeah.
That's the difference between an unfriendly and a friendly link. That's when I talk about a branded application. That's what you're going to receive whenever you work with us. It's
Hmm.
that in itself lends a lot of credibility to the process. Having a link that says exactly what you want to have accomplished. So, and whenever somebody clicks on that link again, you're going to receive you're going to receive videos and so on. And you, as a real estate investor, you also receive a script. So, what to say to the people when presenting this link. So
Okay.
that's a really cool thing too. So we'll have scripts available for your audience here today as well.
Good.
So quality tenant buyers are a result of a quality application process. So educate your prospects as to why lease option works. You ever have problems telling somebody why a lease option works or how it works?
Yeah, I teach it, so it's interesting. A lot of people are used to rent to own, but we really don't really advocate rent to own. We do advocate lease options, though, because it's safer for the owner, the seller.
The way I like to look at that is we, as real estate investors, call it the lease option.
Mhm.
They, as tenant buyers, call it rent to own.
Yeah.
That's the term that they're familiar with. Both of them do the same thing. Both of them are the same thing. We like to live in the world of lease options, though. So
Hmm.
so educate them. Educate your prospects as to how that works. That's not easy. But when you have a company like ours that's there in the background and they hear it from somebody else, you can tell me whatever you want to tell me, Gary. If I'm trying to buy a house from you, and you know, I'm going to be skeptical no matter how credible you are. But I tell you what, if you have somebody else that tells me how good you are, that adds credibility. Having somebody edify you adds credibility tenfold. So when I'm talking to these people and they're saying, "So Paul, the guy that's selling me this house told me that I'm going to need to have a big down payment." Boy, I don't know why I need to have such a big down payment. It's usually first and last month's rent. They started down that avenue. And then I can digress and I can say, hey, listen, the reason why the down payment's going to be a little bit higher is because you're tying up their house for a period of time. So I can talk intelligently about it and let them know, hey, listen, you're buying a house at a future price. You realize if the house goes up in value over the next couple of years that you're going to get the benefit of that additional escalation of value. So when you start doing those type of things, when the people get to me and your tenant buyer gets to me or gets to my staff and we know how to answer that, and we're saying, working with Gary is not such a bad idea. As a matter of fact, it's a great idea. I've been working with Gary now for 15 years, and Gary has done miraculous work. He's helped so many people that I know get into houses, and now they actually own their house and they have the pride of home ownership. So, whenever I say that about you, Gary, it carries a lot of weight. So
Yeah.
it's always nice to have somebody edify you. So and having a credit expert who will even do a screen share and go over their credit report, edifying the person that sent them to us.
Mm-hmm.
Just bursts of credibility. So we're also going to do the affordability analysis and budgeting. No one goes over budgeting. I mean, who's going to help them understand that if they were to pay off their car? Let's see now. With the guy, whenever he came to us, let's say he has 2 years left on his car. Now he pays it down. He's going to apply for the mortgage in a year and a half from now. And he pays it down to under 10 payments. A year and a half from now, he's only going to owe whatever 6 payments remaining. So at that time, if he goes out and buys himself a new Mercedes because his score went up, he's blown his budget. Now he can't qualify for the house. But if he's talked with us in advance, even though his score went up, he knows to not go out and buy that new Mercedes and to stick it out with the car that he has right now until which time he gets the new loan for the house. Then he can go out and buy himself a new car. But that budgeting piece is a key element that's missed. And a real estate investor doesn't have time to explain all this stuff to people. We do. This is our job. This is what we do. We make certain that they get to that second closing table. Their satisfaction at that stage is our satisfaction. So it's important to work with somebody who understands all this stuff.
Okay.
So also having a large buyers list. Say, for example, you get that 300 calls in a weekend on a house. You only got one house. You're only going to give it to one person. Now, what do you do with the other people that do apply? Let's say you slim it down and 10 people apply on this property. What do you do with the other 9? Well, guess what? You now have a buyer's list to go out and find another property in that same area. And if they're in credit repair, well, you even have a better tie to them. Now they're going to remember you. And what if the credit repair people are saying, hey, listen, Charlie, I can't tell you that you're going to get this house. You still need to work that out with Gary. I don't know if you're going to get the house or not. I don't know if, he allows cats and dogs and the amount of down payment, the amount of monthly payment. I don't know how all this is going to work out. But if you don't get the house, and I'm not trying to wish anything negatively upon you, but if you don't, then here's what I would encourage you to do. Stay involved in our credit repair program because Gary might get another house next week, next month, or 2 months from now that fits your needs. Guess what I just now did for you, Gary? I helped you substantiate or maintain a buyer's list. So here's another hot one that's on the line for you. I let you know that these people are in our program, and you actually even have access to follow along with their progress. You can see what items have been removed from their credit report and how much remains. And I'm also there to tell them, hey, listen, cash is king. If you got more down payment you have, the easier it is for Gary to be able to get you into a house, maybe a house of even higher value. So, not only having a buyer's list, but having a quality buyer's list on hand is going to help you get more houses. So it all relates back to itself. So, even if you have the house under contract, should you leave it out there so that you can still get more applications? Probably until the time you actually sit down and you close and you take that deposit money, leave the house out there and continue to take applications on it. It's just going to continue to build your buyers list and feel good. This is what I would say to your audience. Feel good to know that you're helping others. This is a great industry to be in, folks. You're really doing a lot, not just for your pocketbook, but for your community at large. And every time you walk out and you see people on the street and you go into the store and you see people that you've done business with, you should know that you helped so many others by being able to provide quality housing for those who typically could not get it because they've been run over by life or run over by credit, or they had a job, a gap in their employment, or whatever happened in their life. That's what this is all about, being able to help people move into quality housing.
Yep.
So the link that I'm going to be providing to your audience, it's great for Craigslist, for Zillow, for Facebook marketing, or wherever. You could put it right on your own page if you have your own list of properties already up there, wherever, emailable, textable. And we even have QR codes if you want to put those on house flyers for those technologically savvy people who can go past a sign, take a picture of it, and then be able to bring up the application right there from the picture of that sign.
Mm-hmm.
So for those that are able to see the screen, I'm going to kind of go in a little bit more detail here. You could follow along. For those who cannot see this screen, you're just listening on your car. Again, thank you for listening. What Gary and I are looking at right now is what we call the debt-to-income ratio analysis. It's an affordability report, and it is a great form. It's designed to play what if. It has spin buttons on it. If the score were, like in this particular example, it's 611. If that score, if I were to raise it up to, say, 700, what new programs would open up to this particular client? This is not available in the online underwriting systems. When you submit something for approval with a mortgage loan officer, he needs to understand what program he's already submitting it on before he even submits it. This tool here allows you to play what if. What if the down payment were higher? What if the purchase price were higher or lower? What if the monthly rent were higher or lower? How about the income? How about all the debts? What if we were to ignore a certain debt because someone's going to pay down a car to less than 10 payments before they make the mortgage application? Then I could ignore that debt. How much more house can they afford? So great forum to play what if. And this is just what your people need to make certain that they qualify. Here's another thing that we catch using this. Gary, sometimes people will say, what's the monthly rent on this house? What are you going to charge on this house, Gary? And some of these people say, well, I'm going to charge $1,200 on this house. Well, I come to find out that the new mortgage is going to be $1,400.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, big deal? Well, yeah, actually what it is, because whenever the underwriter comes along and says, this is called payment shock. You used to charge them $1,400 when they lived there and they were renting it. Now all of a sudden they're going to have to pay $1,450 on this house. Payment shock. How are they going to be able to afford that? Do they have enough what's called discretionary income to cover that? And it looks like they were just barely making their bills before. How are they going to be able to afford that? And that would be a reason that's like kind of strike one against them. So this tool catches that. And I've had to do this a couple of times. Went back to the people that are controlling the house and say, listen, you're undercharging on rent, and the problem with that is it's going to create payment shock. May I suggest you go back and ask the people for more? Blame it on me. Blame it on the underwriter. I don't care, but you got to tell them. And people typically will understand, I want to pay about what I'm going to be paying in mortgage anyhow.
Mm-hmm.
So people understand. And guess what? Now you're collecting a couple extra $100 per month. Good catch. You're not going to get that from TransUnion, Smart Moves, or Landlord Station, or any other screening company out there, because they don't even know how to spell debt to income ratio. They don't know what it means. All they're going to deal with what's called balanced limit ratio, which is how much people owe on their credit cards based upon their limit, and that's a piece of a credit score. This is a piece of underwriting guidelines. So those are two different, distinct elements. Both are integral to your process, but in this case here, this is a reason why something can be turned down.
Yeah. And by the way, we investors love what if scenarios. We're looking at properties, for example. They might not look like they work on the surface, but if you dig deeper, you can find all kinds of ways to make things work. That's right up our alley. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so what's on our screen right now, and I'll just kind of paraphrase it, is the script that we use whenever we're trying to bring a person on board to fill out our application. And it goes something like this, and you'll get a copy of this once you go on and register with us. So Mr. Tenant Buyer, if the quality of your credit is what's preventing you from buying a house, hold on, let me put my glasses on here, Gary.
Okay.
I am 60, so if the quality of your credit is what's preventing you from buying a house, this house comes with a professional guidance to address your concern. You can move into this house, and you're given the time to fix up your credit. If you're closer to home ownership than you think. As a part of your $50 application fee, you're going to receive a consultation from a credit expert. So apply now by using the following pre-populated application. So in other words, when I say pre-populated application, and it goes on to show the link. So then you're just going to send them the link. The pre-populated application, here's the cool thing about that. So when they click on this link, they see your name. They're going to see Gary Wilson of Gary Wilson ABC Real Estate Company. And here's Gary Wilson's phone number. And here's Gary Wilson's email address. So they're going to see you. So that, again, it lends credibility to the application process because your name's already there in lights. Okay, they already see you on the application, so that part's complete already. Then all they got to do is fill in their name, address, date of birth, social security number, and all the other relevant information. Click the submit button, and then go ahead and pay for the application. So it's quite simple. But again, that having that customized, branded application is so key. It makes things so much easier.
Yeah.
So this is kind of what it looks like, Gary. I mean, you can see it on people listening can't see it, but you can see here where it shows the information right there on the screen, and then the application goes down from there, and all the questions are below it. And here's a really busy screen, but anyhow, this is the difference between what our credit repair company does basis the industry standards, and I'm just going to kind of pick a couple of them out here that make a lot of sense and chat about those. So dispute inaccurate items on the credit report. Now, most companies dispute one thing at a time. And this is the reason why things get done so much quicker with us. And this is the reason why we can give you an end date on the date you start. Let's take Lexington Law, for example. They're the biggest in the country. There's about 3,000 credit repair countries across America, and they do as much business as all the rest of them combined. So they're the elephant in the room. They're good at what they do, but the problem is they do it very slowly. So, for example, Gary, if your tenant buyer has 10 things that are negative and inaccurate on one credit report, and that implies they have about 30 across 3. If Lexington Law were to dispute one thing every 45 days, you can do the quick math and understand how it would take years just to get through that first level of disputes. What we would do is we would dispute all those negative things all the time. Now, we might get about 7 or 8. That would be an average set of results. We might get about 7 or 8 removed. So that's still a quantum leap from maybe only getting 1 off. And now you can see now in the second pass, we'd take the 22 or 23 items that remain, and we would dispute those. We might knock it down to 15. But we're making, again, big chunks of progress over time. And that's how we can that's why we can tell them that it's going to be no more than 9 months when they're engaged in our service. So that's a really cool element that differentiates us from everybody else out there. I haven't run into another credit repair company that does that claims and does actually dispute all the negative things every single time they go to the well. There's a reason why we're endorsed by Ron LeGrand, Mitch, Stephen, yourself, Chris Prefontaine, and Joe McCall, and many others in the industry. And that is because we figured out that credit repair is not a commodity item, and screening needs to have the debt to income ratio analysis, and all these features need to go together, and they need to be presented to you in a format where you can have your tenant buyer sign the form that says that he's not going to materially change his income or his debt load. In other words, the affordability report, he actually has to sign that to make certain that he understands that he's obligated to not change anything materially with respect to how his affordability. Same with the credit repair. We make him sign a form, or we don't make him, but we provide a form to you for you to present at closing that they're going to engage in credit repair and follow the instructions. That takes the liability off of your shoulders. So if somewhere down the road, Gary, you appear before some judge and they're claiming their defense is Dodd-Frank. In other words, that you set them up for failure, fully knowing that they cannot afford this house or that their credit was not in a good enough position to be able to get the loan. The penalty is steep. It's 3 years of their rent payments plus whatever down payment they put down on the house that you have to refund to them. So I don't want to be the test case to have to basically pay that level of a penalty. So this protects you against this, because if now in that same court you pull out a document that says, "Was this your signature here, sir?" The signature that says that basically you can that you're not. This is how much money you make. This is how much money you owe, and here's your ratios. This was done by an independent outside professional. Now, all of a sudden, the judge going to say, okay, well, that's we see that you can afford the house. At least that's what you told this guy before you moved in. And here's the action plan for the credit repair. Did you do this? Did you do this? Did you do this? And then all of a sudden they find out that the guy quit the credit repair 2 months down the road. And by the way, if someone quits credit repair 2 months down the road, I tell people before they even start, I say, now here's the deal, Mr. Tenant Buyer. You can't just game the system here. You can't just say you're going to enroll in credit repair a month down the road, quit the credit repair just after you get into the house. That's not how this works. If you do that, I'm under obligation to let Gary know that you've left our credit repair service.
Yeah.
That's key, So, at least then you're educated, and then you kind of anticipate what to expect. Next month the rent's late. Well, now to get things moving a little bit quicker because all signs are heading the same way. Or so it's key. It's key to have information is key to the success of your transaction.
Okay.
So helping tenant buyers build new credit, big deal, big potatoes. Lexington law, other ones don't do this. Did you know that if you've got like a $300 secured credit card and you have a $5,000 unsecured credit card, that adding a $300 secured card to your credit might improve your score about 5 to 10 points. But if you add a $5,000 unsecured credit card to your credit report, if you have no other large limit credit cards, which is a major credit card, if you have none, then adding the $5,000 card is going to improve your score somewhere between 30 to 45 points. Big deal. Big deal, Yeah. So FICO likes to see large limits and low balances. And that's the name of that tune. So if you're working with some loan officer or some other credit expert and they're saying give you a $300 card, well, that's the tip of the iceberg. That's just a little bit to help you improve your credit profile. Yeah.
So what can we tell people or help people that we got just a few more minutes here? Like how can they get a hold of you? There's some tools you can help them with? Website? Go. I see the next screen. Go ahead. Keep going. Yeah.
I should be able to close up here in the next 5 minutes, Gary. Pricing. Okay. How much is the screening cost? $50 per person, and it's paid by the tenant buyer. If you're going to put a rush order on it, in other words, you need it done by Tuesday, or actually it's within 3 days, then have them pay an extra $20. There's a piece there they can pay that at the checkout counter. If you want me to be the one to review your application, you got a $500,000 or $750,000 house, and you want to have the owner of the pre-qual team company call you up directly and go over the good, the bad, and the ugly of this applicant, then pay an extra $100 and I'll go over it with you. And I usually go over it for about 15 to 20 minutes. So credit repair, $120 per month, which our VIP program, we're sending out the letters to the credit bureaus for them. So they can't even mess that up anymore, Gary. Maximum 9 months. And again, it's paid for by the tenant buyer. We're going to waive the $79 analysis fee since they came to us through you. Okay. And also going to waive the $119 setup fee. So we'll be waiving about $200 of fees right up front because they came to us through you. So normally we charge for the registration process. We charge $100, but for your audience today, we're going to do this for free, that they can get that branded application. So again, they're going to go to prequalteam.com and they're going to go down to the lower left corner and they're going to see a red wheel looking like star type button that says free membership registration. They're going to click on that.
Okay.
Answer 6 questions. And then from there, pay attention to their email and their text because everything that they need to learn about the process is all going to come out along with that script and those videos is going to come to them by email within 15 to 20 minutes after the time that they complete it.
Okay, awesome. Well, I really appreciate that. I think I speak for a lot of people when I say thanks for sharing your precious time and your valuable knowledge. This is good stuff. And what's interesting is everything you're showing, we use it within the context of helping our investors screen their tenants, which is absolutely the most important part of the rental business, is screening your tenants. But at the same time, anybody can use this stuff for themselves too. They can, if anybody's out there and you're over leveraged or you've got issues, this stuff works. I knew people personally who've done this. That's why I can vouch for it. Hey, Ron, any parting words of wisdom before we?
One more offer. Actually, you brought up a really good point. What if one of the people that are in our audience today has damaged credit and they want to repair their own credit? Mm-hmm. The offer that I'll make to them is I will do 9 months of service, but I will knock a month of price off. So they'll only pay 8 months for 9 months of service. I'm still going to waive the $79 consultation fee, and I'm still going to waive the $119 setup fee. So they're going to get all three of those bonus discounts if they do the credit repair with us. Now, the way to do that would be to go on to the You Can Book Me site.
Okay.
And so look in the show notes, and there'll be a direct link to my private schedule.
Okay. Well, that's pretty generous.
Okay. All right.
Hey, Paul, thanks again for doing this. And thanks everybody participating and listening and watching. Take Paul up on his offer. That's a pretty generous offer, and help your tenants build your database. I mean, gosh, anybody that doesn't qualify now might qualify later. All kinds of possibilities here. So again, if you haven't subscribed yet to the podcast, please go ahead and do so. Real estate investing for professional men and women. And also go to myinvestmentservices.com. Click on the members link, go in the server level and check that out, because there's thousands of us out there investing, doing joint ventures. And more importantly, we've trained the agents how to work with us. That's the critical thing here. They're certified. You ask for certified investor agents. So in any case, everybody listening, take care. God bless you and your families. And we will see you on the next podcast.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Real Estate Investing for Professional Men and Women. Be sure to go to myinvestmentservices.com to join our community and start building wealth today.